Okay, back again with another informative leg training video. So once again, hopefully those of you who watch my channel regularly saw my last leg video. I sustained a little bit of a knee injury a few weeks ago, nothing major. My MCL in my right leg is giving me a bit of grief. So I'm just showing you the kind of stuff I do to kind of get through it. So I'm just going to warm up. I'm not going to do much talking now, but just to give you an idea. Band behind the knee and get to a good distance where there's quite a lot of tension, and I'm basically just trying to push my heel down into the ground. Okay. Now I just do these until I kind of feel warm. It activates all the kind of musculature around the knee. It has the feel of a leg extension, but without the kind of pressure on the knee itself, but in the way it squeezes the muscle. Feels very similar to a leg extension, like when you're contracting at the top of the leg extension. But just a great way to kind of warm the knees up. I said to you guys in my last video, I'm not a massive advocate of stretching and things like that ordinarily. But over the years, I have used these kind of exercises when my knees are playing up a little bit. So I am quite lucky with my knees, generally speaking. They're pretty healthy considering the amount of time I've been training. But these do help warm up a little bit. Now, the tweak injury happened, whatever you want to call it, happened about a month or so ago. It'll be about 4 or 5 weeks ago now. And it is feeling a lot better, but I'm just really taking my time with it, because the last thing in the world I want to do is have a full-blown knee injury like an MCL tear or anything like that, because then that would be game over for Red Hulk. I don't fancy that. So already, no idea how many reps I've done. I'm not really counting them. I'm just going by feel, and already I can feel some pretty good tension. This band is about 50-ish kilos, thereabouts. Now, you can do them 2 legs at a time. I could put it behind both legs and do it. I'm just doing 1 leg at a time. The reason for that is simply because both my knees aren't playing up, it's just one knee, so I want them both to have an equal bit of a warm-up. Because ordinarily when you do things bilaterally, like both at the same time, the knee that is healthy will take more of the strain. So I recommend doing these unilaterally, like 1 leg at a time, and then that way, they're both getting a bit of an equal warm up. And it's just find something pretty heavy to secure yourself to. That's pretty pumped. Okay, so this is the leg that's actually playing up a little bit. So do a few on here. So again, you'll see how I set up. I go back to where I feel some pretty good tension, and I just try and push my heel down into the ground. As I push my heel into the ground, all of this flexes, but I get 0 knee pain. And I would say this to anyone, if you've ever sustained an injury, bulletproof the area. Bulletproof all the musculature around the area. If you've got a bad back, as soon as you are able to getting your kind of lumbar and all those muscles around it strong, get your hips strong, get your glutes strong, and it will save you so much in the long run. Particularly if you're in it for the long run. If you're an older lifter or you've been doing it a few years, because I know some of us on this channel might be slightly more casual lifters and it might not apply as much to you. This is judgment-free zone, as they say. But if you are someone that's in it for the long run, I would find it so demoralising if I couldn't train. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I genuinely wouldn't. I'd be an absolute nutcase if I didn't have somewhere to have my kind of release, whatever you want to call it. So these are the kind of things that help keep me in the gym. Sort of 30 years later, and I'm still able to go reasonably hard 30 odd years later. And so this isn't something I do all the time. I only do it when my knees are feeling a bit tender. But today I'm planning to do some box squats like you saw last time. Again, playing it by ear, might use a bit more weight today. I'm going to continue using the chains for accommodating resistance, so it's a bit lighter at the bottom, heavier at the top. And then I'm going to do some band squats if everything goes according to plan. It's just another exercise that I throw in here and there when the knees are playing up, but I'll show you guys afterwards. Anyway, I'm going to do 10 more reps, and then that feels pretty warm. Yeah, so getting a really nice pump, to be fair. And often just getting blood into the area really does help. You know what it's like if you're feeling a bit banged up, you know, on a bench press day or whatever. You know, if you kind of do a set of 20, set 30, already the area just starts to feel better just by flushing a bit of blood in there. So this is the equivalent. So I'm just flushing blood into the area, but I don't feel any strain on the knee itself. So cool. Anyway, I'm gonna go and set up. Okay, so first set of box squats, sticking to about 10 reps. I haven't got the box set super deep, it's roughly parallel, might be slightly above parallel, thereabouts. I haven't brought my protractor with me. That's an England joke. But it's deep enough for me to feel. So, got 60 kilos plus a chain. This chain is 8 or 10 kilos, I don't honestly remember. You'll, hopefully if you saw the last video, I've got it set just over a plate. The reason I do that is when you're using chains, they have a habit of swinging around, particularly on a squat. You can lose a bit of stability, so I find when I put them on top of a plate, it kind of catches and they'll pull in the same area. So rather than me swinging around and really battling to control it, it just helps them fall down in the same area. Anyway, I'm going to get started. And let's hope for the best. Yeah, that was cool. Just need to move these plates back a tiny bit, I think. That was fine. Felt okay. As I said to you guys last time, I'm aware of the knee. I know the knee's not feeling perfect by any means, but at the moment, considering how painful it had been at times, I'm squatting, I would say 70% pain-free. Which, considering I was squatting about 20% pain-free before, the pain, if you've ever had a ligament injury, it's a really sharp, nasty pain. It feels like you're being stabbed almost. I was getting that anytime I bent my leg, basically. So now I'm aware of it, I can feel it a little bit, but I'll take it. Okay, just got 100 kilos on there. I've added a couple more chains on as well, just for a bit more accommodating resistance. I don't honestly know what it weighs altogether. At the moment this is probably towards 140-ish. Hard to say. Today, the idea, like I said, is I'm using this as rehabilitation. If you're a regular viewer of my channel, you know I'm a reasonably good squatter. I can move some alright weights. This isn't about ego. This is just about trying to rebuild the area, rebuild the musculature, get some blood in the area, remind my body how to squat, and in the long run, leading back to squatting pain-free. So as I said, I find these kind of exercises are really good for rehab. So I'm not a big advocate of rest. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, you have an injury, you just have to stop using it. But as I said before, I'm a big believer, as soon as you're able to get the area mobilized, because your body just has a way of rusting over, because your body just wants to protect itself. And a lot of the time, when you have an injury, like a back injury, you kind of curl over and get bent up. And because, like I said, the body just wants to protect itself and becomes very stiff. So I just find getting that mobility, getting that range of motion, getting blood in the area, really helpful. And it's kept me in the gym for 30 odd years, so, you know. Almost fell over there. That was fine. It actually felt better than the first set. Because again, blood's getting into the area, blood heals, blood lubricates. So that actually felt nicer than when I've just got one plate on there. Anyway, I'm going to go and throw on 3 plates. Oh dear. Okay, so I'm up to 180 plus the chains, so it's going to be 200-ish plus kilo. Well, to be fair, it's going to be more than 200. It's going to be probably somewhere towards 220. I don't honestly know. As I said, today is not about moving weight. I'm going to see how this feels. Last time I did it, I cut off at 180. Plus the chains, and the idea now is ideally I would like to make a bit of progress. I'll see how 180 feels. If it feels heavy or if I feel anything in my knee, then I will not go any heavier than 180 and I'll just cut it off. So I'm being instinctive. However, ideally, you know, I might shove on 10 kilos, I might shove on another plate and try to 200 or 220. Again, this is part of my rehabilitation process. Do as I say, not as I do. In the sense of these are great exercises, but you scale it back to your own strength. Okay, this isn't an ego contest or anything like that. And some of you might look and say, "Oh, Mark, you've got 180 on there, or 200, or whatever it is. That's really heavy." Relative to my strength, 180 on a box squat isn't particularly heavy. You know, I'm a reasonably good squatter. So it's all relative. You know, if you're a 140 squatter, like a 3-plate squatter or a 180 squatter is your max, awesome. Those are still great poundages, but do not be afraid to do box squats when you're coming back from an injury with 60 kilos, with 80 kilos, with 100 kilos. You scale it back to whatever works for you. Ultimately, training has to be a very individual thing. It really, really, really does. And I said to you guys on a number of videos in the past, I was the original ego lifter. Back in the 1990s, when I was a kid, first came into the gym, sort of 15, 16 years of age, in the mid-90s. I just wanted to be the biggest, strongest guy in the gym, like everyone else did. And I would just chase poundages. I got strong really quick. And in the process of doing so, I ended up hurting myself a lot. So a lot of the bangs and aches and pains and injuries I've had and I suffer from nowadays are stuff that I did when I was in my late teens, in my early 20s, that eventually caught up on me. Don't get me wrong, I've caught back up, but I've said in other videos, there are very few injuries that I haven't had, you know, and managed to come back from, and hopefully, you know, I can save a few of you, you know, a few of these things. And as I said, push yourself, absolutely push yourself. I push myself all the time. I'm very good at pushing myself, but also know when to back off. You know what you can do. You know, on a good day, you can squat 140, 180, 200, whatever your squat is. But do not worry about trying to impress other people with poundages and stuff like that, because ultimately, when you're coming back from injury, you know, you're coming back from an injury. In a few weeks' time, in a month's time, in a year's time, whatever it is, you'll be back to normal. You'll be maybe even better than you were before. So it's just learning to listen to your body, because you want to be in it for the long run. And if you are trying to impress other people with poundages, ultimately it can kind of lead to you hurting yourself. And you know, just as I said, just find that happy medium. You know, don't go in the gym and just tread water by any means. You know, test yourself, but don't break yourself. The great Lee Haney, 8-time Mr. Olympia from the 1980s and very early 1990s, he used to say, "Stimulate, don't annihilate." And sometimes, you know, that's a pretty good mantra to live by. Anyway, enough talking. I'm going to try this 180. Wish me luck. Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. Just out of breath. What I did that time, I said to you guys in the last set, the weight felt heavy on my back. And what I'd forgotten, because I'm slightly out of the swing of things, even though I've been squatting for 30 years, when you haven't squatted for a few weeks or properly, when you unrack the bar, one of the best things I ever learned to do was like flex against the bar. So flex your traps, really tighten up your upper back. And it just squeeze the bar, flex your traps, and it just makes the weight feel a little bit lighter, a little bit more comfortable. Because I know a lot of you, when you squat, you probably feel that bit of pain in the top of your back. I'm quite lucky, I've got quite a meaty upper back and I've got quite meaty traps, so I'm not too bad. But like I said, even then, I'd forgotten to do that myself. So that felt a lot more comfortable on my back, just by flexing against it. Right, I'm not going to bother with 180, I'm going to just go 220. I will cut off at 220, plus the chains, because I mean that's a respectable poundage then. I've got 0 knee pain. Like I said, I'm aware of it, but there's no actual pain, so I'm really, really pleased with that. So whatever I'm doing is obviously working. So yeah, gonna give myself a minute, get my breath back, go 220, and even if 220 feels good, I'll cut off there, because you have to give your connective tissue a bit of time to readjust to heavier weights. So even if I did 220, it felt really easy, I still wouldn't go any heavier than that at this stage. Over the next few weeks, of course, I will. But at this stage, I'm cool with 220. Okay, those were pretty challenging, but it was all right. Survived. Right, I'm going to move on. Give myself a minute to catch my breath, because a bit tired. I'm going to do some more squats, but these are going to be some band squats. I'll explain in a moment how I do them. Right, basically, I'm only going to go very light, and I'm going to set myself up as you would with an ordinary squat. But what I actually do, I use some band pegs, and I put the bands behind my knees, and then I squat. Sounds a bit weird, but you'll see in a minute. Okay, sorry about the camera angle. I don't know if you can see very well or not. I'm trying, but it's very difficult for me to show this exercise without moving the camera around a little bit. So I'm doing band squats now. Now what I'm trying to do now, I'm moving on a little bit and just restoring range of motion. That's my next goal. Because obviously the box is great, but when you use the box, you lose that kind of stretch reflex almost. Which is cool for strength training, but as I said, I just want to get used to just moving and getting my kind of regular depth. So I'm literally only going to be using 60 kilos plus some bands. Now, what you'll hopefully see down there, my power rack's pretty good, and I've got some band pegs and things. I've attached the band pegs down there, and on each band peg, I've put one of my 50 kilo bands, these green bands. And what I will do in a moment, I will step through the bands, and I'll have one behind each knee. I will then get into the squat rack, and I will squat. But obviously I've got no real weight on the actual bar itself. 60 kilos is obviously just a negligible weight. However, for me to lock out my knees, I'm then adding on an additional 100 kilos effectively. And again, I find that I get a really nice squeeze around the actual muscle itself without giving me any knee pain. Okay, so I'm going to claim these. I've never ever seen anyone else do them before. I came up with them during lockdown, so I should patent them and call them Red Hawk squats or something like that. Don't know. But as I said, I can't recommend them enough. If you haven't got access to a gym where you've got band pegs and things, I suppose you could secure them on a very heavy dumbbell or something like that. That might be a possibility. I've never tried them like that, but that might be a possibility. The only thing I would say is obviously if you're using slightly heavier bands, because these bands, as I said, give you around 50-ish kilos resistance when they're fully locked out. You'd need something pretty heavy to secure it to. But if your power rack at your local gym hasn't got band pegs or whatever, you could still theoretically tie it to, just tie it around the edge of the machine. So I know a few of you have asked me before about how to actually tie a band. There are no silly questions, because I know some of you might feel a bit, weird saying it. So how you do it, loop it around just like that, and then just pull it through. Yeah, and there you go. That's all it is. Anyway, let's give these a try. I'm saying all of this, I'm talking a great game, and then it probably won't work. So I just put my these behind my knees, like so. So now you can see the bands are behind me. Now, because they're so stiff, straight away, they're pulling my knees forward. So I have to work straight away now. My legs are really engaged, my quads are really engaged. All of this is flexed. Because naturally, like I said, that wants to pull me forwards. I'm having to work to actually keep my legs, like my feet, flat on the floor. Okay, so now, as I said, I'm not going to go any heavier than this because today I'm just trying to restore a bit of mobility. So, it can be a bit precarious unracking it, to be fair, because it does pull you forward. So now I'm deliberately going quite far back because I want a lot of tension, and then I'm just going to squat and stand up. And in the process of locking out my legs, I'm getting a tremendous amount of tension. My quads are really, really having to work hard to lock out. And you can see my heels are trying to come up off the ground. But again, considering I've got a bit of a knee injury, the range of motion already is starting to come back. And my quads, believe it or not, are absolutely killing me at the top. Now, as I say, you just have to be careful. You just have to be careful walking it back. Yeah, that you can hear my breath going. As I said, I've got 50 kilo bands behind each knee, so it soon adds up. I'm not saying it is like doing a 160 squat. I'm not saying that at all. However, it feels a lot harder than a 60 kilo squat. And as I said, ego is checked at the door today. I'm just trying to rehabilitate the area, and now slowly but surely over the next few weeks, restore the range of motion, so I start to feel confident once again, going a little bit deeper on a squat. Okay, give it a few more seconds, get another round in. Came off. And you can almost spot yourself on these. So I'm deliberately going quite far back, but if I got to a point in the middle of the set where I was thinking, oh my goodness, it's getting a little bit hard. All I need to do is just take a step or two forwards and you just get slightly less resistance on the band. So it allows me to keep going. It's almost like a mechanical drop set. You know, like if you're doing an incline bench with 100 kilos, you reach failure. If you lower the bench to a flat bench, you'll still be able to keep going, like a mechanical drop set. So I've got some pretty good tension here. It wants to make me fall over. I can feel it dragging me forwards. Oh. So that was a bit shallow. So now I'm going to go a bit deeper. And now hopefully, I don't know if you can see, but I'm breaking parallel. I can always tell for me because the insides of my triceps touch my thighs. I know that for me is a good marker. So when that touches, I know that's pretty good depth for me. And I'm deliberately pushing my knees back at the top, and it's really making my quads flex. And believe it or not, it's actually giving me a really good calf pump as well. Don't know why. So I'm just going to hang around here, squeeze, push those knees back, and then walk forward. Just going to hit one more set of those. That felt a bit more comfortable then. My body's kind of warmed into them. But today is about, I'm going to walk before I run. No pun intended. Let the body get used to the range of motion. And then over the next couple of sessions, slowly but surely rebuild it. I've also been working really, really hard on backwards walking. You guys know the YouTube algorithm doesn't really like me very much, but I do really upload very, very regularly. So if things aren't popping up, please check the channel. I'm uploading a long format video every 2 to 3 days, but in between, I'm trying to drop in some YouTube shorts and things as well. So I know a couple of people were saying to me recently, like a couple of clients and things were saying to me recently that my stuff just wasn't popping up on their feed. They were having to go and look for it. So if you're not seeing my stuff, I assure you I am uploading regularly. So just go and check out the channel. Help a brother out. Okay, last set of these. So once more, get the band behind my knee. Get some good tension. So straight away I can feel some good tension. Get myself into the squat. Step back. So here, like I said, naturally you can see without me really trying, it's forcing my heels up. So I'm having to flex my quads to stay down. Okay, so find some depth. My first rep is normally just a feel rep, just to kind of gauge the depth. And then after that I get a bit more comfortable going down. At the top, I'm deliberately forcing my knees backwards and really flexing the quads. So it almost feels like a leg extension and a squat at the same time. And to be honest with you, it's a really good like hypertrophy tool, like muscle building tool. I don't mean to sound pretentious when I use the term hypertrophy. I know there's too many science-based lifters on the internet for my liking at the moment who just overcomplicate things. So when I say hypertrophy, muscle building. It's not just good for rehabilitation. I can feel a tremendous pump in my quads. So you guys who are looking to keep your knees healthy, coupled with trying to build a little bit more muscle, might be worth throwing in. Okay, just finishing off now with some Nordic curls. You guys have seen over the last couple of leg sessions that I've uploaded. I've just started reincorporating these. I said to you guys before, training hamstrings is incredibly important, but this is one where I'd say do as I say, not as I do. I deadlift very, very frequently. So my hamstrings get a tremendous amount of work during my back workouts. So when I train legs, I'll still always throw some form of hamstring exercise in there, but normally only one. What I'd say to you guys, if you're not someone that deadlifts as frequently say as I do, because I normally deadlift a couple of times a week, or certainly 3 times within about 10 days, I would say for every quad exercise, do something for your hamstrings. It's just really important for joint integrity as much as anything. We've got the front of the leg strong. I want to make sure the back of the leg is strong as well. So the front of the knee is strong, we want to make sure the back of the knee is strong as well. Now, last couple of sessions I've done these, I've been using a resistance band. So I'm pretty heavy. I'm reverse dieting at the moment. I've just gone back up to 134 kilos now. So I'm averaging about a pound or 2 per week at the moment, which is good, which is pretty much what I wanted. So I'm overeating by about 600-700 calories. So over the last few weeks that I've been doing this, I've put on about 3-4 kilos. So 134 kilo Nordic curl is pretty heavy. It's pretty strenuous. So I've been using resistance bands to give me a bit of a boost. What I'm doing now is I'm going to just show you guys another way of kind of aiding yourself. So rather than using a resistance band, what I'm going to do today is I've actually elevated my flat bench and I've made it into a slight incline, like a low incline, and I will lower myself down, relatively controlled, and then at the bottom I'm just going to give myself a push and then follow through with my hamstrings. So if you're someone that hasn't necessarily got access to resistance bands, or you just want to just try a different variation of it, it's just another way of doing it. So I'll get 3 sets of this, and then that'll be me done. So again, I've said to you guys before, if you do watch my channel, these were an exercise I'd done on and off for quite a few years, but they became very popular about 2 or 3 years ago by a really cool guy. I don't know what his real name is, but he's known on Instagram and YouTube as Knees Over Toe Guy. And he really made these very, very popular because he was quite a high level basketball player at one point. I don't know if he was professional, but he was certainly a very high level basketballer. And he ended up having to have several knee surgeries and pretty much destroyed his knees. And he used these as a great way of kind of rehabilitating himself. Now, you can buy these fancy Nordic benches because, like, companies the way they are, they always jump on the bandwagon. All I do is I get an old weightlifting belt, I've got a flat bench, tie it around, and that keeps me relatively secure. To be fair, I could probably do this a little bit tighter. I'm not going to bother. But as I said, I'm just going to, rather than using a resistance band to help me, I'm just going to lower myself down, relatively controlled. It's pretty difficult, obviously, being 134 kilos. And then at the bottom, as I get down, I'm just going to kind of catch myself,
give myself a little nudge and then follow through. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So control, 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 and then little nudge and then follow through. Control, 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 little nudge, follow through. Might look weird, trust me, it does work. And it just feels like you're getting cramp. A lot of time I just kind of stay on there, but you get such a crampy feeling. And I'm sure most of you guys who are watching this at the moment, if you've ever had hamstring cramp, it's horrible. So I'm just going to stretch that out a little bit. If you ever do get a crampy feeling, best thing I can ever suggest is just straighten whatever's feeling cramped. Stretch it. Because cramp is all about contraction, so just do the opposite direction. So at the moment, as I got to about rep number 8, I could feel those little warning signs of cramp. So I'll just straighten my legs a little bit. How embarrassing. I'm getting cramp on camera. Yeah, that's all right. And in the long run, what I am hoping to do over the next few weeks is build my strength back up to the point where I'm able to do this flat. Starting fresher, I might be able to. I've done a reasonable amount and my legs aren't at full strength at the moment. So this is plenty work for me. And as I said, today is all about rehabilitation. Check the ego at the door. Not trying to impress anyone, just trying to get stronger in the long run. Okay, next one. And as you get more tired, obviously the negatives get faster, and I probably have to push a bit harder. I'm still getting work in. Ooh. Okay. One more round. Again, just straighten the legs out a little bit. Because those hamstrings are feeling a little bit tight. But it really does get you in the belly of the hamstring. Really does. So as I said, this is all about rehabilitation, joint integrity. And hamstrings just look cool. I always describe them as go muscles. If you've been lifting for a while and you've got an eye for lifting and lifters, you can see people who have got goal muscles rather than just show muscles, as I always describe them. Strength has always been a priority for me. And I don't mean to jump on the functional fitness bandwagon, I don't mean that. But just being pretty well-rounded and pretty strong, pretty fit. And for me, a physique was always a bonus. I started because I idolised Arnold growing up. I come from a very big, strong family. My dad was a giant of a man, very, very powerful man. My uncles were all very big, strong, powerful men. So I grew up having those kind of guys around me as role models. I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. So in the 80s, we were all watching, even though we're only kids, we're all watching Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, you know, Commando, Predator, all those great movies. But they do really make a mark on you, and they certainly did for me. But it wasn't just Arnold. You got Stallone, you got Van Damme, you got Dolph Lundgren, all these guys who just got such great physiques. So you just can't help but be taken in by it. So I've got my dad and all his brothers who were just giant men. All of them were over 6 foot. All of them were, 300 pounds or thereabouts. And then I'm watching, Arnold movies, and I just fell in love with being strong. And as I said, all those guys were, all my dad and everyone were just big, strong, powerful men. So I just couldn't help but wanted to be big and strong and powerful. So when I started the gym, my goal was to be strong, and a physique was a bonus, getting muscle was a bonus. And the thing is, if you do it properly, you do get a physique, and if you eat properly, you can get some nice muscle. But I always describe it, as I said, going back to what I was saying earlier on, goal muscle, not just show muscle. If you're someone that's been lifting for a while and you know lifters, you can look at the neck, you can look at the traps, you can look at the forearms, you can look at hamstrings. There are, and like front to back thickness, those are real telltale signs ordinarily for a lot of people, as someone who I describe as a lifter. Now, we all have our goals, so don't get me wrong, if you're someone that's really focused on aesthetics, cool, more power to you. Do something that you enjoy. I would say that to anyone. I'm by no means looking down my nose at anyone. But I would say to anyone, there is something very enjoyable and pleasurable about just being strong, and it gives you a kind of self-assurance and self-confidence like no other. And again, I'm not saying, coming on here saying just because you can lift weights means you can fight. I'm not saying that by any means. That's not what it's about. But it can help, because I know there's some of you on here. I've got a few students and ex-students and stuff on here who always talk to me in real life about weights and lifting weights and trying to put on weight. And a lot of it comes from, sometimes it can come from a kind of point of insecurity, a feeling of insecurity. And getting in the gym, learning to be disciplined, and doing something yourself and growing yourself, and you did that. You worked hard to go from a 60 kilo bencher to a 70 kilo bencher. You put the work in, and there's something very satisfying about that. You were disciplined enough to get up day in, day out, week in, week out, and do it again and again and again. And you ate your protein, you went to bed, whatever it is. There's just something very satisfying about doing all that. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. I'm going to finish up. I could talk about the philosophy of training all day. As you can tell, I'm very enthusiastic about training. And I said to you guys before, who have followed me before, I would be a very, very, very different person if I didn't train. It's helped me so much over the years in terms of discipline. I can't begin to tell you. You see a very chilled, Zen version of Mark nowadays. I wasn't always this guy. And it's because of this that I can, give thanks, basically. All right, last set. Ooh, there we go. That's enough of that. Oh. Live to lift another day. Okay, that's the end of the workout. Overall, really pleased, very successful. Moved some pretty good weight on the box squat, which I was absolutely chuffed with. So it's really nice. So my daughter's just come to join me for some reason.
Hi.
She's there.
Hi.
Yeah, okay. So you stay there for a minute. Yeah, so really successful overall. Got up to the 220 plus chains. Camera. Yeah, got up to 220 plus the chains. Gradually, slowly but surely, you saw me restoring a bit of range of motion with those banded squats as well. And then just finish off some nice hamstring curls. And again, I'm just slowly but surely breaking myself back into doing it without using any resistance bands. So on that note, I'm going to leave it there. So like I said before, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit notifications, all that good stuff. I do upload regularly. So if you aren't seeing my stuff, just check out the channel, because I know YouTube isn't my #1 fan, because I'm not a gossip channel. I just kind of lift, and I'm old and I don't do fancy editing, so I do apologise, but I enjoy what I do, and I try to make content that I enjoy watching myself. And we've got a relatively small community, but you guys who do watch, you enjoy what you see, and you're a cool bunch, and I really appreciate the support that you guys always give me, so thank you very, very much. Okay, have a good week, train hard, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.
How many times? Hi.
Get out.